Hey there, and welcome back to the VEX Guide. In today's video, we're going to be going over how to make a digital VEX notebook. Digital notebooks have become increasingly popular in recent years, so we're going to be going over everything you need to know about how to start one and progress one throughout the season. Let's dive right in. So we're going to start off just by taking a look at the outline of each page. As you can see here, in the upper right hand corner, we have a blank box. This space is left for the page number. And on the bottom here, we can see a lot of unfilled boxes, such as signature, date, and a coach signature and date as well. These are for you to fill in physically once you print this notebook out and put it in a digital either binder or physical notebook. So this template has everything you need for you to finish your digital notebook, print it out, and then do all the physical stuff afterwards. And as I mentioned in the title of this video, you can actually get a free copy of this digital template in the link in the description. Let's take a look at the content on these starting pages. Firstly, I want to give credit to Simon from Team 1727R, who graduated a couple of years ago. He made this notebook and this template, so credit goes to him. And it's really awesome, which is why I'm using it for this tutorial. So as you can see here, the notebook starts with a team biography. And as you can see, it's got a team picture. And then as we go to the next page, it just has a little description of each team member. You can sort of do your biography any way that you want, as long as it includes all of your team members. Just note that I am skipping around on some pages here. So even though some other necessary stuff might not be included, it's not essential to an introductory digital notebook. If you guys want a more in-depth content description of everything you need, then feel free to let me know in the description. As for the notebook format, I think that this is an essential part to include. It simply lets the judges know how you're going to be formatting the rest of your notebook. And I think a format like this, or a description for a format like this, is a great thing to have. Next is a design process page, and this is super important. Honestly, I think that a design process page like this one with color and clarity is amazing because it gives a nice visualization of everything you'll be going through. So now we're at our actual content pages. Before we jump into the content itself, I want to make an observation, and that is the highlighting that is used here. As you can see, there's a light green highlight over the important parts of this notebook page. And as we go through the rest of this notebook, you're going to see that that's going to be a common theme. And I really want you to include highlighting because your judge isn't going to be able to read every single word you write. So if they're skimming through, they're going to be mainly looking at the highlighted portions. So you want that to be the most emphasized parts. As for the content of this page itself, I recommend doing an overview of your game as multiple pages. Just know that this is a V5 game, but it completely applies to VEX when we're talking about formatting and designing a notebook. Simply, you can put an image of your game or any other identifying factor, and then write a little description about what it's about. As you move forward with subsequent pages, I recommend doing some descriptions on game elements and doing things like scoring analysis and other things to identify your game. You're going to get a little bit of an idea of what that looks like in this notebook here, but just know that it is up to you how you want to customize it. This is simply a model that you can use as a reference when making your own notebook. Then we're going to see 2 pages here on rules. And honestly, rules are a commonly overlooked aspect, but I do highly recommend doing a page or two on rules because it really shows to the judges that you know exactly what you need to know about this game. Now, I really like this page in particular, the moving tribalist page, because you can see a pro and con chart. Now, the thing with pros and cons chart is that they're awesome for giving a nice, clear visualization to the judge of exactly what you and your team were thinking. Simply put, it says the advantages, the disadvantages, and then a little blurb afterwards is perfect for nice and important clarity. Now we're going to get to actually doing a design process overview. So firstly, we always have to identify the problem in the design process, and you can see that right here on this page. Things like making a goal, problem statement, solution requirements, and solution goals are great in identifying the problem because it shows all of your objectives. And if you haven't noticed, these pages don't actually have that many words. So in terms of content, it won't even take you that long to do, and you can make a great description. So then we go on to the next part of the design process, brainstorming. And just like the identifying the problem section, we have a header for that as well. I really like the fact that Simon used headers here because they give the judge exactly what they need, a perfect place to see exactly what you're doing in the design process. The notebooks are actually graded on a rubric that has all of the steps on the design process. So by using these headers of the design process names, you actually give the judges exactly what they're looking for. And on this page, it's pretty simple. Just a couple key descriptions and a couple key designs, with some reference pictures as well. Reference pictures are great because it shows the judges exactly where you're getting your inspiration from. Now, when we're on the selecting and planning portion, I really like the usage of design matrices, which you can see on the bottom half of this page. A design matrix essentially has all of your possible designs, and it includes all of the aspects in which you're judging it based off of. Then you simply give a score out of 10 to each one, and you add them all up to get basically a winner. It's really great because it shows the judge exactly which aspects you're emphasizing in each design, so they can get exactly into your thought process, which they really like to do. And then to finish off this design process cycle, a nice decision page is great. And with a reference photo to supplement it, it is perfect. Now this was just one instance of how the design process can be used, and we're going to be looking at a bunch more. If you think you got the design process entirely down, feel free to skip to this point in the video and you can look at the next section, which has to do with programming. So let's take another look at the design process, and this time when it comes to wheel sizes. As we always do, we're going to be brainstorming. Now, we didn't do identify the problem on this one specifically because we always need wheels, so there isn't really a problem to identify. So we're jumping straight into brainstorming. And we have a goal, and we're going to include some various design types. Also, as you can see on this page, when you have extra space on your notebook pages, feel free to just put a line through that or an X. Either one works. And now it comes time to selecting a decision. And just like we did for the last one, we're going to be doing a decision matrix. Here, we're basing it off of speed, acceleration, barrier climbing, and center of gravity. All really important things for wheels, especially in this game. And then, once we got the perfect wheel size, 3.25 inches, we circled that column because it had the most points. And we give a little bit of a summary afterwards. Now I'll be going over a bit of a lengthier design process, and the reason is because this one is a really influential part of this game specifically. Now, in each game, you're going to have different, more important or less important design processes, and that can be reflected in your notebook. So you're going to see how launching was a very big design process choice, and you're going to see the pages that come with it. So we have to identify the problem here. In this case, we had to launch these objects called triballs over a barrier, and that was described in this page here, with an image to go along with it. Then we went through lots and lots of launcher types. The reason we had to go through so many is because there were so many good ones, especially in this game. So the usage of a lot of different types, as well as images to go along with those, was really influential. And as mentioned before, Simon actually put the reference to which he got these images from. Some were from sister teams, other really popular teams, and everything in between. And of course, we have to do a decision matrix just like we always do. Now, this was a really large decision matrix just because of the fact that there were so many different designs and so many different things that these designs could be judged on. And if you haven't noticed, this decision matrix actually goes from horizontally when describing the different types of metrics that we'll be judging it on, and the other two that we just used went vertically when doing so. This basically just goes to show it doesn't actually matter how you design your decision matrix as long as you have all the key aspects there. Now it came time to actually planning it out. Now, this team clearly used CAD when planning and designing their robots. Now, if you use CAD, feel free to include it on these kinds of pages and definitely put it in your notebook. But if you don't use CAD, that is also completely fine. You could do a quick sketch or even a description for how you want to design your projects. So now it came time for building. And oftentimes teams want to dedicate a lot of pages to building. And that isn't always a bad thing. but just be careful on how you're prioritizing your pages. If you have too many build pages, it might actually take away from some of the other also important pages that are in your notebook. So as you can see here, for this really important mechanism, Simon actually just used 2 build pages, which really quite honestly sufficed for this design. He simply went through all of the different steps in which they needed to build this catapult and included images to show that narrative. Remember, the key to the engineering notebook is to show the judges that they could replicate your entire build if they were to use the reference of your notebook. And by giving them a clear narrative and steps to follow, along with images, you can do that in a pretty short amount of pages. And now it comes to the testing portion. Now, there wasn't testing pages for the last 2 design processes because those were much less significant than this one here, and this one depends on real data more. So, just like a regular testing page would, they include things like goals, procedures, results, and a conclusion based off of their findings. And this conclusion actually didn't go with what they wanted. So, as you can see, as they said on the end here, they said that a ratchet must be used, which they go on to explain on this next page here. Now we're going to be going over how to do programming pages in a digital notebook. And just like everything else, this is still up to you, but I'm just going to show you a format that you could always use for reference. So on this first page, we're just identifying what we need to do. And there's quite a few headers. We've got a goal, a problem statement, solution requirements, and solution goals, all key things in programming. Then they include the driver control code, and this is really crucial because the judges want to see what you're actually doing that is making your robot move, and a simple thing like this is perfect in doing so. Now, I really like this controller layout page, specifically because it's really organized and gives a clear description to your judges. It shows them exactly what buttons you're using for exactly what purposes, and it does it in a really easy way. I highly recommend doing a page like this. Then they went over the autonomous route, which is another critical thing to do. And the image, as you can see here, is also really influential. Now, normally, I would honestly say that an autonomous route page would take up more than just one. You're probably looking at 2 or 3, depending on the length of your route and your code. The reason that this one was particularly short is because it was a short route under a pretty big time crunch, so they had to make do with what they could. Now we're on the last part of the video, and that's how you can document your tournaments and results. So what they did here is simply put a screenshot of their tournament results. And then this page here supplements all of that. They went over every subsystem of the robot and explained how it did in the competition, which is a great thing to do for analysis. To conclude this comp, they talk about how they're going to move forward based off of their results. And honestly, these reflection pages can make your notebook so much better. The judges love when you have a great description of what happened, but what they love even more is how you're going to move forward with what you learned. Robotics is all about learning ultimately, and when judges see that you're taking what you've learned from a competition and applying it to the rest of your season, they love that, and it will help your team as well. Now you know how to set up and implement your digital VEX notebook. As always, if you found this video helpful, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more content just like this. I'll see you in the next one.